Jordina, welcome to South Africa.
Thanks, Erwin. So he told you some stuff about me, so I don't need to belabor the point, but I have kids and all that good stuff. But the one thing that is important about me is I've led transformations as an employee, I've led them as a consultant, and I've coached and consulted to people who lead transformations. So I do have some of the war stories. I know what works and what doesn't. And this whole talk and a 4-day course this is a teaser for my 4-day course, it all started because they kept asking me, what is it that you're doing that's making you sticky at clients where everyone else seems to be getting bounced out as soon as they get bounced in? I had to dig real deep and figure out what is it that I do that other people don't do. And so some of it you'll hear today. Okay, so first let's talk about what I mean by transformation lead. Some people have the title of transformation lead, and that's awesome. But I think all of you in this room, in some way, shape, or form, are a transformation lead because you're influencing the organization towards transformation. So, first question, in this role, what could cause you to get fired? Anyone want to shout something out? Overly authentic, says Mikkel. Yes. What else? What else could get you fired? No? You don't know what can get you fired? Well, I'm going to tell you. What else? What is it? Failure. Yeah, right. So you terribly fail and stuff doesn't work. I think some of the other things is your boss feels threatened, people feel threatened, they're not seeing the results. What could cause you to knock it out of the park? So what's going to cause you to do great in this role? Success. Get everyone on. You already know what's going to make you successful, so let's talk a little bit more detail. Let's just put this out there for a second. Leading a transformation is tough. This is different leadership than we've had in the past. So first of all, you're being asked to implement new things within the old system. You're being judged from the old system for new ways that you're creating for judging, right? So they're like judging you old school while you're doing new stuff. You're being asked to challenge the status quo, except for when you're being asked not to. And sometimes it's hard to tell when that's going to happen. And you're not really ever sure like when to push and when to back off. It's kind of a balance. It's not always clear. So it's a tough role. So, transformation lead is a political role. I know transformation leads will say to me, I love the job except for the politics. Well, guess what? This isn't a fit for you. And I've told them that. I've told people that explicitly. If you don't like politics, find another job. This is not a job for you. So sometimes people cringe when I say politics. Is anyone feeling themselves bristling when I say politics? I've gotten into organizations where they're like, you can't say that. We don't have politics here. Oh, you don't have politics here, huh? Okay. You're just like no other organization on earth, and it's always the biggest politicians that tell me that oh, we don't have that, really. So if you are cringing when I say politics, I invite you to explore your relationship with the word politics. Because we don't mean dirty politics here. We simply mean navigating the human system, actively navigating the human system. And if you work with humans, you've got to navigate the human system. So think about politics and think about what Stephen said about politics. And so that's kind of the underlying theme for everything, is politics is important. So I'm going to tell you 5 little vignettes today about things that happened to me. And when I'm telling the story, try and listen for the story behind the story. Like, what's the competency that needed to be built before I was in the situation? I didn't build the competency in the moment. I built the competency and then I was ready for it in the situation. So listen to that. Listen for that. So the first thing is heal the pain. When you go into an organization that's in acute pain, they don't care. You can't implement something new. You can't implement Agile when they're in pain. So I come to you, or you come to me with a nail through your finger, and I say, meditation is really great. It connects the mind and body. What are you going to do? Are you going to listen to me? Can you hear me with the nail through your finger like this picture? What are the chances you're going to listen? And what are the chances you're going to punch me in the face with your other hand, right? With your good hand. You can't listen. So the first thing you need to do when you lead a transformation is heal that pain so that they can hear you. So I'm going to tell you a little story about an organization where I healed their pain. So it kind of looked like a junkyard like this. It was my first day on the job in a non-IT organization. So I was always in software until this job where I was in product development, like marketing product development, not IT product development. So I went, on my first day, they invited me into my VP's office, so it's 2 levels above me. I sat in there with the VP and the leadership team, And they went through all the products that we're supposed to be launching. Everything, held up by finance, held up by finance. Finance doesn't know how to book the revenue. Every product on that list was held up by finance. And they all complained, oh, finance is so terrible. They need to hire more people. We're facing disruption and we can't get any products out because finance is so terrible. They're all complaining. In the midst of all of this flurry of complaints coming from this leadership team, of which I am one level below, my first day, did I mention it was my first day? I say, I can fix it. And it got real quiet, and all the heads turned and looked at me, and then they laughed. Oh, the new girl is so cute. She's so optimistic. And they said, listen, honey, we've tried everything. This has been a problem for years. It's not solvable. And I was like, okay, so we're going to risk a multi-billion-dollar company that's facing disruption and can't get new products launched because you can't work with finance. We're okay with that. So I mean, I didn't say all that part, but in my head, on the inside, I said that. And so their approach was, we're just going to keep on getting products ready to launch and let them pile up at finance's door, and it's going to be finance's fault that this whole company folds. This whole company is like Fortune 5 or less, right? The whole company is going to go under, and we don't care. It's not our fault. So what did I do? I dug in. I went and found out what the problem was. The problem was there was one accountant, Ann. Her name was Ann, and 60 project managers calling her to try and get their products launched. They're all calling Ann. Ann was not happy. Ann was in pain. Ann had a nail through her hand. So I thought, if I can heal Ann's pain, maybe I can heal this whole organization's pain. So I put together a list that I was going to prioritize, and all the project managers would come to me, and I would prioritize it, and then Ann would work from that list. Right? It's a backlog. Right? And I was a proxy product owner, essentially. They weren't agile, but this is kind of what the role I was playing. So my VP had said, send me your approach, so I sent him that. And it seems like a good idea to all you agile people, right? It's a backlog. Well, that night I got a call at home from my boss. Well, the VP looked at my list idea and said, this is never going to work. This has been a problem. She doesn't understand the complexity. And he said to my boss, Jardina really missed the mark on this one. Ouch, that hurts. That still hurts today, even though I know the ending of the story. Yeah, what do you say to that? So what do? Do you backpedal and say, okay, never mind, let's not use it? I mean, it's my first week on this job. I think it's going to work, but I'm not really sure it's going to work. There's a lot of variables here that I have no idea, because I am the new girl. All right, let me take a deep breath. Deep breath. And I say to my boss, let's just try it. You don't have any other ideas. Nothing else has worked. You have nothing to lose. Just let me try it. And she lets me try it. And lucky for me, it worked. And lucky for me, it worked fast. Within a couple of weeks, products were getting launched. So now the VP is so happy because products are getting launched. Finance is so happy because now the pressure is off finance now. And products are going to, and the VP wants to, let's use these lists everywhere. We love lists now, right? But the story, so what is this story really about? What's the competency? Is it about the magic of backlogs? It's not really about the magic. You guys already know the magic of backlogs. I'm not going to tell you about that. The magic of the story is that you need to stand squarely in the face of that pain and be willing to have the courage to stay in that pain until that pain is healed. Now, in this case, I fixed it on the first try, kind of. But, you really need to stay there and stay with it. And then the second part of the story, of course, the second moral of the story here is politics. I mean, I was a politician there. I was politicking between the two departments. And by the way, finance and product development after that, love fest. They loved each other. They actually met with each other after that. And Ann, still kind of crabby, but she was better. But yeah, I mean, it's really just about being willing to stand in that pain where it's super uncomfortable. All right. Second way to knock it out of the park. Share shamelessly. So can you share shamelessly without caring who gets the credit? And what do I mean here by shamelessly? I mean, what's shameless about sharing? I mean sharing without caring about the credit, sharing even if people might steal your ideas, sharing even when people don't share with you, and this happens to me. I share, and they're like, well, we can't share our stuff with you. I don't care. I'm still sharing with you. That's what I mean by shamelessly. Because sharing gets you a seat at the table. And having access is one of the most important things for a transformation lead. If you don't have access, as Stephen said, you're toast. You need access. So how does sharing get you a seat at every table? So I had someone ask me, they were complaining to me, I'm not getting invited to these other meetings about portfolio, and I need to because I'm the Agile lead, and I need to be in the portfolio meetings, and they're not inviting me. And I told them that they should invite me, and I told my boss that they're not inviting me. And I was like, I sort of made a maybe insensitive comment. I was like, I would have been invited. And they challenged me. They said, well, how would you get invited? Would you just barge in? Would you just show up? No, I wouldn't just barge in. I'd be invited. And she challenged me on, well, how would you have gotten invited? Well, I would get invited because I would have been sharing with them all along. When I heard that they're doing portfolio stuff, I would have been saying, hey, have you heard about this? Hey, have you heard about that? Hey, I'm happy to stop by your meeting. Stop by just for a few minutes and share how we do prioritization in Agile. Here's an article. Here's a video. Hey, it's about you. Let me help you with your effort. Maybe I can help you. Not let me into your meeting because I need it for my agenda. It's what's in it for them. And that has just gotten me access to every meeting. So sometimes people look at that and they go, you're a player. You're in every meeting. Yeah, well, maybe I'm a player. So if that's a term that makes you cringe, that's another one. People say player is an insult. I own it. Because having access is important for this role. And I get access by being of service. I'm of service to those people, trying to help them, sharing shamelessly with them. And I'm not going to apologize for that. So again, politics. It's about politics. So the question is, are you taking time to share? Are people sharing with you? And one of the other things there too is when you're in line in the cafeteria, or in the queue in the cafeteria, as you all say, are you talking to the person next to you? Are you finding out what they're working on? Just my natural curiosity, and this is where I really had to dig deep because I didn't know what I was doing that was working. My natural curiosity is, what are you working on? What are you working on? Oh, maybe I can help you. Oh, maybe you can meet that other guy that I talked to yesterday in the cafeteria or that I talked to in the elevator or lift. So who you're talking to in the lift is important because you can connect those people even if you can't help them. And if you can't help them at all, you know what they're all working on. I quickly, and accidentally in this case, gained a reputation of being in the know about everything. I didn't mean to, but it was really useful when you're leading a transformation to know what's going on everywhere across the company and what everyone's working on and what their challenges are. All right, third way to knock it out of the park. Love your boss. Who loves their boss? Okay, oh, well, this is a really good room. All right, I don't usually get that. Oh, but my boss is old school. Oh, your boss is sitting next to you? So many times I hear transformation leads say, oh, well, my boss, they hired me, but they're not ready. They don't know what they're asking for. They're not letting me, all this kind of stuff. Most bosses that are in charge of the transformation lead are going to be a problem because they're not transformed yet. So I had this boss who was old school, and I got in trouble. And I got in trouble a lot because I would do Agile stuff, and I would instead of my other work, and I wouldn't do the stuff she assigned to me because I was busy doing stuff I thought was more important. That's why I was an entrepreneur, because I had trouble with authority a little bit. But yeah, and my slides, I always wanted feedback before they were perfect, and they wanted them to be perfect. Perfect, come on. So I was always in trouble, and she was always yelling at me. And, but I had to get to a point where you have to understand how to love that person. Like, so why? What's important to her? What's driving her? I developed over time empathy and understanding and just some positive intent of assuming that whatever she's doing maybe is the right thing at that time. And what happened was she became a huge advocate. She started to realize that what she was doing was maybe she was a product of her environment. It wasn't because she was a bad person. It was because that's how they worked, right? She didn't know. So what do I mean when I say love? Love your boss. I know you're all laughing at that. What do I mean? Just be good with it and be okay with it? No, that's not what I mean. Do I mean work around your boss in like a clandestine secret agent kind of way? No. Do I mean just be okay with whatever they're doing? I don't mean that. And I certainly definitely don't mean just kind of ignore them, right? That's not what I mean. I mean, be okay, like learn about what's driving them. And Christopher Avery says something. If you all know Christopher Avery is the responsibility company guy. He says, do you only want to transform people who don't need to be transformed? This is transformation, right? Not everyone's transformed yet. They need love too. Toxic bosses, bosses that steal your ideas, bosses that sow seeds of distrust, we love them. You gotta love them. They are where they are. This is who we're transforming. So your boss controls your fate. So Stephen was right. If you want to get promoted 2 levels above, but that 1 level above, they can fire you. So you gotta love your boss if you don't want to get fired. All right, 4th way to knock it out of the park is show me the money. You know that Jerry Maguire, show me the money. The only thing that can win a contest of opinions is money. So in Agile, there's a lot of what we call hand waving. Oh, this is good, this is good, this is better, it's great. Money is gonna help you. So here's a little story about a company I worked with that looked kind of like this, kind of like the junkyard, only real messy. So it was a big transformation. It was messy, it was complicated. The Agile discipline was not disciplined. It was very undisciplined. So when I came in, the practices were sloppy. When I came in, what I noticed was that stuff wasn't getting out the door. Now, this is with a lot of Agile, right, when you start. Stuff's just not getting out the door. It was just big upfront design and like long lead time. Their financials looked like a hockey stick. As a matter of fact, by December, they were trying to scramble for money and figure out how they can look like they made their numbers. They were looking under the sofa cushions, trying to find some money in there to make their numbers at the end of the year. So I had them focus on, and I had the coaches, focus on delivering value sooner, reorganizing their work, and you guys know this, reorganizing their work to deliver the value up front, to deliver it in smaller pieces, get some value sooner. That was it. Forget retrospectives, forget daily stand-ups, forget all that stuff. Oh my gosh, I see Agile people cringing. Oh my gosh. Agile coaches that worked for me quit because they're like, she's not following the Scrum guide. Okay, you're not following the Scrum guide, but the organization met their year-end financial target in 6 months. So that means, in other words, they doubled their financial target for the year. $100 million made that company by not necessarily following the Scrum guide. We'll follow it later, but they needed to focus on the money. They needed money, they needed to deliver value. Focus on that. That's the pain. That's the important thing, the money for them. So met yearly financial targets in 6 months. So what's the litmus test here? Measure something that's meaningful. OKRs are a great way to do this, by the way, to measure something meaningful that's aligned with the business goal. And the last way to knock it out of the park is drop the ego. So if you haven't heard this yet, the ego is the thing that's going to kill you in this job. So I'll tell you, one of the first transformations I worked with, I moved from being an entrepreneur, I had to take a job. That's a story for another talk. But I had to take a corporate job. And I needed to get promoted because the pay was a lot lower. I wanted to get promoted. The team knew it, and the team hated me because they really thought, like, as soon as I have an opportunity to get promoted, I'm going to throw the team under the bus or the team's mission under the bus in order to get promoted. And I said, that's not true. Of course, I can do both. Whatever, if I'm successful, you're successful, we're all successful. But I was wrong. I was wrong because you can't make decisions for the team in this position. You make compromises. You do things to make people happy. You're not going to stand up for necessarily the right thing. You're going to try to look good. And you just can't be doing that in this job. So not to say you can't get promoted, because you'll get a ton of exposure to upper management, to Stephen's point. You'll get that 5%, like more, maybe 10% of the time you'll have those opportunities. But if you're doing this job just to get promoted, you are toast, right? You are sunk. And the last thing here is it's not about you. So when I talk about ego, I'm talking about that self-centered kind of like focus on self. This job or this role, any transformation role, as I think most of you know, will challenge you to your very essence, your self-worth, your ego, your values. Every day you'll be challenged. So you need to build yourself a good support system. Stay grounded so you can come in every day ready to face this, because it's hard every day. And I think most of you probably already know that. So again, the 5 ways to knock it out of the park: heal the pain, share shamelessly, love your boss, show me the money, and drop the ego. If you want a little bit more on this, we do the 4-day training for transformation leaders, which is all this kind of stuff and more. We're really trying to talk about the stuff no one's telling you, the stuff no one's talking about. Politics, we do a whole thing on politics. The taking responsibility for things that you don't have authority over or things that are impossible, a lot about emotional intelligence and being able to speak to executives. It's really all that stuff no one's telling you. One of my favorite transformation leaders ever used to say, on any given day, I stand equal chance of getting promoted or getting fired. And that's how I know I'm doing my job. And this is so key. So if you're not okay with getting fired, you're going to have trouble. So the title of the presentation was How to Lead a Transformation Without Getting Fired. But the truth is you might get fired. The paradox here is the sooner you're okay with getting fired, the less likely you are to get fired. So go out there, be a politician, be courageous, and lead. Thank you.